All right, Maddie, after hours, we are back, team, here to bring you the content you need regarding crypto. Maddie, how are you doing? Our assets are doing well coming off this weekend.
Yeah, it's been great. I was pretty much unplugged for the weekend down at a festival in LA enjoying myself, but it's been nice coming back, waking up this morning, getting plugged back into the markets, and seeing a lot of altcoins in the green today. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that continuation over these coming months.
Yeah, I'm excited, Matt. But I'm especially excited to get into the content today, team. We're going to begin into some XRP topics, some Casper topics relating to the news, and a little bit of Bitcoin for you Bitcoin maxes out there. We will satiate that desire that you guys have. But before we get into that, become a CryptoCharge member. Click the link in the pinned comment down below. We are from CryptoCharge, CryptoCharge.com. That is where our education platform is. We do shows, we have tools, our community is accessed through our website. So go check us out there. We need you guys over there. Our community is so small on YouTube, but is much bigger, and our community is all over on our Discord. So go check us out there. You can do that pinned comment down below. But let's get into the topics here today. And this is a topic that Maddie addressed last week on the live show on the website. And I just wanted to bring it to you guys here because I think it's important. We have a very interesting political climate, and we have John Deaton attacking government now. Pro-XRP lawyer John Deaton launches bid against Elizabeth Warren. So, Maddie, give your kind of background on John Deaton. Obviously, he was very crucial last year for us, always on Twitter bringing those XRP desired news and takes. Maddie, what about John Deaton? Obviously, he's taking on Elizabeth Warren here, which she's a powerhouse in government. Give us your take on John Deaton and what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, so big fan of John Deaton. Shout out to all the attorneys that were providing really great breakdowns and summaries for us throughout this entire case. For all of us plebs out here that are just doing their best to understand all of this intense legal jargon, and John Deaton was one of those really big proponents in that case. He also sent out a list and the ability to join kind of like a class action suit, where John Deaton actually kind of inserted himself into the case, was speaking on behalf of us as XRP holders, and kind of explaining what our expectations were when we got into this market, what we think of XRP tokens, right? And those are valuable insights that most likely helped to some extent, right? The judge come to the conclusion that XRP in itself is not a security, right? So it's important to consider. Now, political spectrum, I'm just generally very anti-government, right? I think that most people in government do not have our best interests in heart, and that goes for red and that goes for blue. So for me, I always look at, at the end of the day, who can we put in these positions of power that are going to help propel industries and technologies forward that are going to benefit us as a society as a whole, right? And I think John Deaton would be a really great candidate for that. Now, does John Deaton win this? Maybe not. But I think the more important concept here is that you're going to have these debates where you're going to have the Wicked Witch of the West, Elizabeth Warren out here, who is just so disgustingly anti-crypto. And it's one of those people who are anti-crypto and don't even understand the technology as a whole. Works very closely with Gary Gensler. I'm sure they have nice little, sexy dates once in a while with each other. They're just constantly whispering in each other's ear, when they're in Congress. It's very weird, very gross. But I am excited to see John Deaton shake up the scene a little bit. Even when I've seen other candidates in other previous elections, are they going to win? Probably not, right? Because people are very locked into red or blue. But what it does is it sparks new conversations. It makes people more aware of the concepts that they're and some of the implications that these policies could have moving forward. So even if John Deaton doesn't win, some Americans are now going to have a little better idea in their head. What is DLT? What is blockchain? What are the ramifications of this? What are the risks of this, right? And maybe it's not all this, crazy negative illicit picture that Elizabeth Warren paints. So that's really what I'm hoping more out of this. I obviously will do whatever I can to support John Deaton. I've signed up for his volunteer list, so if he's going to be doing any campaigning or needs assistance, I'll definitely offer whatever service I can. And I'm very excited to see he's thrown his hat in the ring here.
I love that, Maddie, and we should be very excited for people that want to enter government because we need people to speak on our behalf in government. And I think this is what a good person, definitely a good person, would be in government for that. And, just going back to kind of some of the things you just talked about with government and speculation and red versus blue, I've just been doing my due diligence. And because I as a young person, I really want to grasp this government and I want to understand how is this going to affect my future as long as it's not as long as well as it's affecting right now. And I've heard a lot of spokespeople talking about the Fed, which the Fed controls the money. They've printed trillions of dollars, or we have $34 trillion of debt, and they are able to at will print more money.
Right.
And so things like cryptocurrencies are definitely help. It is a commodity that we're able to invest in, so that we're not getting. Because if you go back to what we talked about last week on After Hours, we talked about Gary Gensler, and he's just very pro Obviously, you look at his role, but very pro of the current system we have right now. And I feel like sometimes, Maddie, I'm talking about people that are outside of crypto, they're not forward looking. They're not
Right.
looking towards the future. They're very stuck in their current situation that they're in right now. And, okay, you got to pay your bills, you got to take care of your family. But as a society, we need to be forward looking. And that's how I look at crypto. And that's how I'm looking at John Deaton here, throwing his hat in the ring into government. So I really like that. And Maddie, moving along here, this is a video flash from the past here that we're going to get into right now, but it's been circulating in the XRP community. I've heard some of the best XRP takes from you, as you gather from people like John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan and all of our favorite XRP shillers. But
Right.
I want to get some of your takes on this. This video was from 5 years ago, and I think a lot of the things obviously ring true till today, but I want to compare and contrast from then till now. This is obviously, we're going to get into Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, talking right here. And I want to get some of your general thoughts. I think this would be a great talking point for people that are still skeptical of XRP and don't completely understand what the company Ripple is trying to accomplish with XRP. And kind of Brad Garlinghouse kind of gives the talking points that you constantly give, Maddie, is one of them he talks about here. He's like, well, XRP performed pretty well in 2017. We can look back on that. It's like, it's the best performing asset of 2017. So what are we looking towards for the future here? So
Right.
let's get into this video. Maddie, if it echoes in your ear, let me know. That's not, I grabbed the wrong tab here. Here we go. If it echoes in your ear, Maddie, let me know.
Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, he joins us right now. And David, some say Ripple could be the next Bitcoin. What do you think, Brad? Is that a compliment that Ripple could be the next Bitcoin?
Well, I think if we're solving a real problem and it's at scale, then I think it's a compliment. I think the most important thing that is going on in crypto is understanding what is real and what is just hype. Some, I think, may look back on Bitcoin and find that it was the Napster of digital assets. What I mean by that is Napster was the first to digitize music and demonstrate, hey, if you digitize music, you can do a lot of cool things with that. But ultimately, they were circumventing trademark laws, they were circumventing royalty payments, and government stepped in, and Napster was not successful. But Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, they were very successful. I think what you'll find is that maybe the next generation of digital assets ends up solving some of the original problems that Bitcoin set out to solve.
So RippleNet is trying to take on...
Maddie, do you want to give any talking points on that? Because I feel that statement right there, how XRP looks in the grand scheme of crypto, what Bitcoin meant to crypto, and now what other digital assets are doing. What's your kind of commentary on that?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm very grateful for Brad Garlinghouse as a whole. I think he's a really phenomenal spokesperson for Ripple to also just propel the whole space of DLT forward. Even when she posed this question, she said, is Ripple the next Bitcoin? I know internally he wanted to correct her, but he would rather just go with the correct point, right? Because there's a very big difference between the digital asset Bitcoin and, Ripple, the fintech company. But what he talks about here is what I've talked about many times. I understand that people are grabbing onto Bitcoin now because it's widely available, it's widely adopted. We now have ETFs, right? You can buy it on any and every exchange with your debit or credit card, right? Whatever you want to do. But I don't think it's the best tech. And that's what I've been trying to tell you guys with the altcoins. It's not just the returns, because the returns are obviously a big concept of it. But it's not everything. The reason I'm long-term holding and investing in things like XRP, investing in things like Casper, investing in things like API 3, is because I do believe that these assets provide something more proprietary and more advanced than some of their previous competitors. So when we have, assets that are now running laps around what other assets were built for, it doesn't mean they're bad assets, right? But just like with technology, as it evolves, right, at a certain point, that technology becomes a less necessary technology to have, right? Even think about just, the advancements of cars, right? Now, if you don't have Apple CarPlay or Android CarPlay in your car, right, it kind of feels clunky. You're frustrated that you have to use this Bluetooth connector, and then, everything takes longer and the quality just isn't there, right? Now, what Bitcoin set out to do within itself is perfectly fine. It is a decentralized peer-to-peer network, but it doesn't satiate a lot of the problems that we have now in our existing system. In fact, sometimes it exacerbates them and it makes it worse when it comes to fees and completion time, right? Now, if you compare it just, apples to apples of like, okay, Bitcoin transaction to ACH transfer in relation to settlement time, meaning like when the merchant can say like, it's in my bank account, there's no processing or anything, right? Bitcoin is probably a bit faster than that. But when you look at a solution like XRP or XLM or Quant or Algorand or really a ton of coins out there, they run laps around Bitcoin in both cost and settlement time. So I think that he's speaking complete truth here because, we have new technologies that are going to replace Bitcoin in the future. Now, is there always going to be some sort of use case for Bitcoin? Sure. Can you make scaling solutions that make Bitcoin more efficient? Yes. Lightning Network is really the saving grace here when it comes to payments for Bitcoin. But you basically have to take this very raw tech and you have to build a lot of plugins and add-ons and scaling solutions to make Bitcoin as efficient as XRP as it is in its capacity now.
It's trying to take on Swift. What's been the traction like? Who's come on board?
Well, it's interesting as you step back and look at this. If you and I decided we were going to send $10,000 to California today, the fastest way for us to do it would be to drive to the airport and fly it there. That's a crazy thing to think about when you're in the age of the internet and we're used to information on demand. When we think about the customers that have come on board, it's because we're solving that real problem. We're changing the nature of a payment taking days to settle to California to seconds. So we now have well over 100 customers ranging from some of the biggest banks in the world to payment providers to the Western Unions and MoneyGrams, Linlan Pay out of China.
How many banks?
It's over 100. I actually don't know the exact number now. Last time we announced it publicly, we said over 100. We'll probably announce the next one when we get to over 200. We're signing up more than a bank a week now.
The thing is,
which is a crazy concept to think about. So this, by the way, guys, was 5 years ago, like we said at the top here. So this was 5 years ago. They had over 100 banks that were signed up with RippleNet. The other thing to consider here is when you have a company that so deeply understands the digital asset they work with, like XRP, right? They can craft these customer-friendly solutions for these banks, for financial institutions, for money transmitters, for whoever needs to have some sort of money settlement issue solved, even for like inter-treasury settlement, right? Like maybe you have a large company and you have a lot of different departments and you want to make sure all your records are straight, right? You can have somebody build an XRP infrastructure for you, build a side chain, a permission side chain to facilitate all of those things, right? So it was a little over 100 banks here 5 years ago. Do you guys think that number is more or less than 5 years ago? It's exponentially more, right? And I think a lot of people were laughing about the adoption rate of XRP at this time. And I, even at that time, thought it was very impressive because banks don't generally want to grasp onto third-party solutions unless they're really good, right? They would rather just make it themselves. So the fact that you already have, at this point now, hundreds of banks signed up with Ripple, utilizing the digital asset of XRP, using RippleNet, using the ODL corridors, right? Those are very powerful figures to consider for long-term adoption, especially when you look at XRP right now trading under 60 cents. You have not missed the boat. You absolutely have time to still get on and stay on this boat for a very long time.
Last minute here, Maddie, it's gonna brief talk about the XRP performance here.
It's the volume
for sure
out there. What kind of volume are you looking at?
Well, we've had one that we can talk publicly about is we have one corridor run by SEB, which is one of the first or second largest bank in Sweden, has done over $1 billion USD equivalent through one corridor. So while on the global macro scale, we're still just getting started. I think we're on mile one of a marathon, but we've crossed that starting line. Like this is real activity in production systems where customers are really benefiting from that. We clearly have a long way to go, and the overall maturity of the digital asset market, I think, has a long way to go. But if we keep going back to let's focus on a real problem and solve a real problem for real customers, I'm really optimistic.
You have several products. We talked about the system, RippleNet. You also have a digital token, which is the XRP. How's the XRP doing? Because we saw it surge 1,300%.
Right. So XRP actually was the best performing digital asset in 2017. It was up, I think, something like 25,000%. The excitement around digital assets is because I think you're solving a real problem. And I think one of the things you saw happen, particularly last December, is there's understandably concern about regulation and what does that mean for digital assets. From the get-go, Ripple has worked with regulators, and we have worked with regulated institutions like banks where there isn't regulatory uncertainty. And so we have found that part of the reason why XRP has performed well is because people realize, hey, wait a minute, back to your question, is XRP the next Bitcoin? If we work with the system to solve this problem, and we can solve that problem at scale, a problem measured in the trillions of dollars, then there's a lot of opportunity to create value in XRP.
But how can there be clarity?
I think that was a great take on that, Maddie, and I feel like almost verbatim I've heard you take that standpoint or say something similar like that. Obviously, this was 5 years ago, and you probably, gathered some takes from this. I liked the Napster take. I liked, his take on XRP, comparing it to Bitcoin. What are your final thoughts here for somebody that is still skeptical, obviously 5 years ago, but now looking at today, compare and contrast then versus today, XRP, is it still legitimate in our overall crypto ecosystem?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. First of all, I want you guys to see how embarrassing it is that this person who works for Bloomberg TV, which is the leader in economic news, cannot just get like the basic data down of like percentage gain, understanding what XRP is, right? And I don't expect them to do like deep dives on this stuff. But when you see these guys on CNBC and Bloomberg and you think that they're experts, no, I promise you they are reading off of a piece of paper and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So this is why I tell you guys, when we talk about do your own research, that doesn't mean go watch the news and listen to these talking heads because they don't know what they're talking about half the time, right? XRP performance, right? And this is one of the main things you guys always need to understand here is that the performance of Ripple, the fintech company, and the performance of XRP, the digital asset, are not one and the same, right? We've had situations where Ripple's had really good quarters, and that hasn't necessarily fared well for XRP. Why? Because XRP is a risk-on asset. It moves with the rest of the cryptocurrency market. When this company Ripple IPOs, you're going to have a completely separate stock price than what's happening with XRP. Now, we might see some of these fintech companies get a nice surge when you get the whole crypto market move, but we don't see this synonymous one-to-one movement with performance of Ripple sales and performance of the digital asset XRP. Because again, although it's a company that's heavily using it, it doesn't necessarily change all of those things, right? If you have a company that's building lots and lots of airplanes and they're using lots of gold and silver, right, that doesn't necessarily directly affect the profits that one mining company particularly made, right? So overall, I think, again, Brad does a really great job of just getting down to the brass tacks, talking about the facts. I think that everything he talked about 5 years ago really holds up well today. I think that we also are just, as a nation, a lot more educated as now we've seen multiple cycles. We're getting a little bit more clarity on, what these exchanges are allowed to do, what assets are actually real assets. And I think this is a conversation that's probably needed to get going for the next 5 or 10 years before the average person really sinks in and they go, okay, I get it now, right? Like they're digital dollars. They're just going over payrolls, rails. I don't have to know how the pay rails work, just like how people don't know how the banks work now, right? If I were to say you're deposit money into the ATM, well, okay, what happens? Well, how does that get accounted, right? At what time do the bills get accounted for, right? And how do they go back on that? What does settlement time look between banks for intra-bank settlement? Most people don't know how that works, and they don't care. They just want to put their money in. They want to know they can get it back out, and they really don't care what happens in between. So that's still how the majority of the population is going to be. But as soon as we get them comfortable with the idea of digital dollars or Fed coin or whatever the hell it is, I really don't care at this point. Exchange of value is exchange of value, right? But it's those networks that we can lay those coins on top of that really changes the way the system works as a whole. And I'm very excited for that time to come.
Well, team, there you go. There's your little crash course on XRP and a little bit of Ripple there. If you want to learn how to, strategically buy the digital asset XRP, join Crypto Charge. We're constantly doing that. Maddie pulls up the chart every single day. Maddie, do you want to pull up the chart at all right now, or is it not worth it?
No, we can take a quick look at the chart here.
You're welcome, team. You're welcome.
Let's go ahead and just zoom out here. Cool. So let me make sure I got the correct XRP chart. I want to say that I was working off of a more liquid exchange just for current price action. We'll go off the crypto chart here. And, XRP is one of those things that people are just always get, they throw away until we're doing these impulses in here. And then everyone and their mom is, because they've seen me talk about XRP, even in this last cycle here. As soon as we start doing these moves in here, everyone's very interested. XRP, I love XRP. What do you love about XRP? The price. Okay, so you don't really love XRP, you love gains, which is okay. But don't pretend like you understand anything about the quality of these assets if you're only paying attention during these bullish impulses. What we're at right now, and this is where I've seen with a lot of assets pull out to the 3-day chart here, is you have a lot of these structures that should technically spell bearish continuation. So you have kind of this breakdown, the downtrend here. So this was basically like a 618 retrace that came in after that initial drop down in here, double topped off the macro 382, dropping below the 236. And then we had this final little nasty impulse in May of 22. Since then, we've just been in this long-term ascending channel where we've just been making higher highs and higher lows. We have yet to breach this high over here. But overall, the ascending trend line is very much intact. What we saw in Ethereum, what we've seen on a variety of assets where this flag should technically provide more downside continuation, we've seen the invalidation of these downward or bearish continuation structures. And in fact, we've been seeing breakouts. So what I think is going to happen for XRP next year, as we've kind of been sustaining above the 200 week, trying to battle with some of these other MAs, we've got some crosses here happening with the short term and the long term MAs, is that we're going to get a nice break here. If we break over 84 cents and we flip that as support, then XRP has a very long way to go. It's one of the few alts that are legitimate and been building up for a long time. They're still kind of sitting back in one of these continuation structures that have yet to be invalidated. So XRP is still trading below 60 cents right now. I think it's a phenomenal overall long-term price. Again, if you guys know my plan, part of it's to keep some of this XRP each and every cycle to build enough big enough bag so that when we are eventually able to borrow against our crypto portfolios, that is a tax tax-free event when that happens, guys, right? When I borrow money from my portfolio, that is not a taxable event because I am taking money out. I am loaning myself money, right? So it's technically interest that I'd be paying on that loan. So this is, again, a good portion of why you guys want to look at some of these low prices on good quality assets, because you can use it as a tool in the future. Even short term though, right? We're looking at 8, 13, and 21 is kind of the upper bounds of targets, trading at 55 cents right now. Yeah, maybe it's not going to do the same as your microcap, but I have a lot of fundamental faith in this asset. In my opinion, this is like buying XRP at like the $6,000 to $7,000 level, right? So just put that in perspective for you guys. This is the equivalent of buying Bitcoin at 6 to 7K. If you think Bitcoin is going to be 250K, 300K at some point in the future, where do you guys think XRP is at in a couple cycles from now, right? You're not going to be disappointed by that. So this is where I'm at with XRP. I'm just patiently waiting, accumulating a little bit here, obviously a little bit more oriented on Zcash right now, but I think XRP is really, really nice looking.
I'm hyped. If this doesn't interest you at all, if you didn't get hyped off this whole last segment, go buy stocks and don't watch our shows. But I get hyped over here when Maddie starts, he starts getting his technical bag, and it's not like more like, we're XRP bulls. XRP's gonna save the world. It's like, no, we're looking at an asset right here that's been around for a hot minute, and when we pull out our TA, when Maddie pulls out his Fibonacci's and you look at from market cycles what XRP can do, something that Maddie didn't mention right now was the suppression from the last bull run. What are we expecting for this next bull run on XRP? Something pretty crazy. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's frustrating not making a new all-time high last cycle, but XRP wasn't alone in that. We had a very wonky kind of end of last cycle with the Fed coming in and just spoiling the party with 18 months of just back-to-back hikes, and just couldn't care less about the credit system or the economy, or people getting absolutely crushed after just kind of having this very loose QE environment. You also had the SEC lawsuit intact this entire time. Now, we did talk about the gains even from 2020 lows to the 2021 peak, and that was about a 15-16x, which is still, again, nothing to cry about if you were buying crypto as a whole towards the 2020 crash, and then you kind of just held through. You probably could have done anywhere between like a 5 and 13x, 16x, right? I'm still looking at the opportunity right now, right? When you look at the larger structure of XRP, it's basically just been one massive compression structure. When you guys look at the weekly chart in here, all we've had here is one massive flagging structure that's been forming for multiple years now, right? You guys can kind of see where that's coming in here, right? So everyone looks for bull flags, and they go, when we're in a bull market, people are on 15-minute charts to go, bull flag, it's going to another 200% here. But then they see the same bull flag on a weekly chart, and they're like, that's going to take too long to play out. Well, when you have these big giant compression structures, the longer the base, the higher in space. So yeah, I am looking to definitely scale out at 8 and 13 up here. I'm going to take a good chunk of profits because I've been doing a lot of accumulating through here, right? So I have a pretty decent sized position, but I could see us absolutely getting surprised here, maybe hitting 24, and maybe there's even a wick even higher in here, right? But those are not what I'm promising myself. I'm not promising that 24 to 40 is the end target here, and I'm not selling anything up here. I'm going to de-risk in here. I'm going to pay myself back. I'm still going to have plenty of a long-term bag, but I think because it's been cooking up so long, maybe 24 to 40 is on the table, right? So I want you guys to consider that those are things that can happen, and especially now, again, guys, during this entire time, no U.S. exchanges listed XRP during this entire run in here. So can you guys imagine, now that we've had this long structure in here, what price could look like with everybody hyped with Coinbase listing, Binance listing, Kraken listing? You can buy anywhere, right? You can buy XRP anywhere, right? I could see really explosive price action. Imagine we get a flurry of Ethereum ETFs and maybe even an XRP ETF approved during this time, right? We could really see our expectations surpassed, but that's why we have to hedge against both situations, right? We have to hedge it in the event that it doesn't get there. We want to take some profits, but then we want to leave some of our position open in the event that we're very wrong and price goes higher, right? You have to create that balance, and this is how we quell some of that emotional instability within ourselves, is by hedging and taking some profits and then leaving some of the bag to run in the case that we're very wrong.
I love that, Maddie. Hey, we start talking about XRP, you can't stop, bro. We should just do, if we could, team, we would probably just talk about XRP every single show. And that's just because it's in place of an asset that many talk about, which is Bitcoin, and they look at all the news, they pull up the same chart, and it's just, it can be not as exciting, but XRP can be very exciting. And even if you, just as Maddie was looking at that chart right now, many of you guys constantly pull up XRP scraping the lows, or XRP, look at this bear market, we haven't really done anything. But if you look at that chart that Maddie just pulled up, we did crazy impulse moves. Like XRP, along with the rest of the crypto assets, have made moves and then retrace. So plenty of money to be made there, team. Again, if you want to invest in stocks, go over there. But if we're able to trade this, which we do trade over here, this is where we're making our money. These moves are where we're making our money. And this move that XRP is about to do in this bull run is where we're going to be making a lot of money. I know you, Maddie, because where are you at right now? How much of your portfolio is in XRP?
It's still around 50. Casper and Zcash have creeped up quite a bit. API 3 has been cut down a bit from those trims to reallocate into XRP and Casper. So still my largest position today. That again might be changed into future cycles. Of course, that long-term bag may change USD value wise and always kind of outperform as that bag grows and XRP price gets bigger and bigger over time. But my portfolio will most likely look different next cycle because there'll be new projects around, there'll be new opportunities, and we're gonna have a little bit of a blend in some of the old coins, and we're gonna have a blend of some new assets that are out.
You gonna buy Bitcoin?
No. Leverage trades, but no spot holdings.
I got you, Maddie. I got you. I definitely feel you on that because mine is 40% XRP, and it just makes a lot more sense. I'm just here to make money. If XRP's been around for this long and nothing is telling me that fundamental-wise is going to go to zero, because that's when you should be skeptical, is when you look at, the people that foresaw the FTT zero or these other cryptos that went to zero. It was a fundamental reason why they went to zero. I don't see nothing is for telling me from Maddie or from anyone else on Twitter or YouTube, nothing is projecting to me that XRP is going to zero due to some fundamental reason. So if that's the case and we spent this long scraping the lows and we're entering a cycle where crypto assets traditionally take off, I'm excited for this asset, and that's why I would not be buying Bitcoin right now. But, hey, Maddie, if it's, if you need to get out of stock market and you want to, certain stocks are very overextended right now. So getting into stocks may seem a little bit unfathomable, but maybe Bitcoin, you're definitely going to make a lot more money with Bitcoin. Am I right?
Kind of vibes of let's get into Nvidia right now after it's done a a 10x or whatever over the last cycle.
All right, Maddie, let's talk about Zcash really quick. We're going a little bit longer here. We're not going as long, Maddie. I see you see the recording time over there. But we started recording a little bit earlier. So let's just get through these last two things because they are about assets we care about. I skipped over a Bitcoin topic, and maybe we'll get to it next week. But next we're going to be talking about is Zcash, a privacy play that me and Maddie both care dearly about. And I know Maddie's going to love talking about this right now. And then we're going to talk about Casper. But let's talk about Zcash first. Zcash jumps more than 20% after digital asset manager Grayscale proposes new privacy ETF to the SEC. So, Maddie, we've seen Zcash, everywhere, Maddie, Twitter, YouTube was like, oh, look at Zcash is moving. Well, now it's moving up now. So now what do you guys have to say? Anyways, but based off this news, based off current Zcash momentum, we have a privacy-focused exchange-traded fund here. What does this mean for Zcash as it is, has been delisted from exchanges? Privacy in general is pretty frowned upon in the world. What are your general thoughts here?
So that would be, first of all, huge if we did get a Zcash ETF approval, because what you guys have to understand about what Grayscale was doing previously, because remember, ETFs were not a thing. They were not a thing, even though people have been petitioning for it. Large institutions, too, have been petitioning for it for years. Most people didn't know that ETFs were even on the table until the last year, because a lot of you guys are new participants, which is fine. But you guys don't know the lore of kind of like where we've been with ETFs previously. I promise you, when these new applications come in, people were actually excited, especially those who've been in the space for a hot minute, because we knew that there was all going to be most likely already rejections in the previous, because we already knew they weren't strong enough. The SEC didn't have a lot of pushback from the courts yet. They were kind of able to just frivolously regulate whatever they wanted to. And now we're seeing a little bit different of a stance here, because you have enough people being loud enough about it. We have enough evidence in some of the cases, like the Ripple case, showing the SEC is not acting in our best favor, right? But if we were to get a Zcash ETF, one thing is that legitimizes privacy, right? We no longer have this talking point of, well, we think that people can do bad things with Zcash. Of course, you can do bad things with Zcash, you can do bad things with dollars or euros, right? But what it says is that the digital asset Zcash within itself would not necessarily be inherently a security, right? And it also necessarily wouldn't be this thing where exchanges would be looking to delist it, right? You get an ETF approval, well, they're actually probably going to be more likely to want to list it on their exchange, and maybe even other people to file for ETF products. So in the future, it's always just going to be a Zcash fund. Maybe they throw some other privacy coins in there. Barry Silbert's been long on Zcash a very long time. He's looking for at least like a $1,500 price point on Zcash, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that we might exceed that, but I will absolutely be taking profits in that four-figure zone, guys. I mean, we're buying Zcash for $20, $25 right now, right? We don't want to be greedy about it, but if we do get that adoption that will legitimize privacy in a lot of people's eyes. And I think maybe even, which would be exciting, even though I'm a Zcash holder right now, bring on new competitors within the privacy space. And that will be exciting for us because we're going to get Zcash quality privacy, but maybe with a mechanism that's more efficient than proof of work. I don't think that proof of work is the most efficient methodology, but it is the best protocol we have right now when it comes to privacy, in my opinion. Now, in the future, you find some other protocol that still preserves the privacy aspect of it, shielded address it, some sort of ZK snark, but you're able to move that into a DAG, or you're able to move it into another model. That's absolutely going to run laps around Zcash, and I am highly interested in investing in something like that. So, bottom line, Zcash ETF approval will be very, very bullish for privacy as a whole, as well as the DLT space.
All right, Maddie, let's talk about Casper, the project built for enterprise here. And I want you to give me some of your initial thoughts on Casper before we get into some of the things that they are focusing on right now. CEO Ross McKay listed out some of their focuses right now. What is your general thoughts moving along this year, 2024, for Casper? Because things change as we go along, right? Like, so 5 years ago when we were talking about XRP, you have different thoughts about XRP. You're actually, I know you, because you're more bullish on XRP than you were then, because we've gotten through some of this clarity ruts, and now we're at a position from a technical perspective to buy into an asset that shows tremendous rewards here. So talking about Casper here, why are you such a bull on Casper, and why are you choosing to invest in Casper right now?
So again, when we talk about the digital assets, right, we can always kind of like lean back on the foundations or lean back on companies that are, utilizing the product and kind of like gauge performance or quality based on those things, right? But I don't think that's necessarily the best indicator. First and foremost, we know that the crypto assets as a whole will move within cycles and move to liquidity zones, regardless of kind of what's happening behind the scenes with certain teams, right? Now, if there's too much FUD and there's too much, concern and there's a lot of like overt issues, people are going to, some people are just going to stay away from those assets altogether. But I truly believe that we're going to see some very, very big impulses in Casper, regardless if we get like a big implementation, even in the next year by a large company. Now, of course, the anticipation of new companies wanting to use that project or that protocol, or testing out, permission applications on that network, those are definitely net positive things, and that potentially garners a bigger community, garners bigger interest. But I think that Casper, regardless of a actual company deploying, let's say, millions of dollars worth of intellectual property in the next year, is going to actually change the price of Casper, right? We've seen Casper actually have some really nice pops, even within this tail end of this bear market, without any fundamental catalyst behind it, right? And again, what we talked about previously with institutional adoption and business adoption, enterprise adoption, is just generally a slow boogie, guys. And I know that's the thing you do not want to hear. And that's probably why you're going to turn this channel off and you're going to go run to the next Hopium channel to tell you that their next microcap is going up 100x by tomorrow because X, Y, and Z influencer says that this is happening, right? You have to try to have a longer term vision for these assets as well. If you want to get into, for example, if you wanted to get into Microsoft or IBM in the early days, they weren't doing as much, right? There was a lot of concepts, there was a lot of promise, but somebody had to bet on them to see that follow through, right? So I'm willing to bet on Casper to see that follow through. I think that over the next several years, we'll definitely see more adoption, especially as we get more testing out there, as we get more companies on the test net, more actual mints on the main net. Those are things that will propel long-term adoption. And those are the things where you're like, okay, what is price 10 years from now? Why does that multiple actually go up over long periods of time? Because that adoption curve will go up as well, right? But as far as this cycle, I'm still looking at well over $1 for Casper. I think that will happen with or without, giant mints. And you guys can see that through some of the other smaller caps that have pumped without any major narratives, right? Like I know some of you guys are like huge on like Caspa and Cubic and all these other assets, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? But like, current performance is not indicative of future performance, right? Like the idea of it went up 2x, so it should keep giving and always go up another 2x. Yeah, I think these assets are going to continue to do well, but like we've also seen intra-cycle crashes with large parabolas, and you guys always forget that shit. I don't know why you guys do, but you guys forget that there's so many assets that will do big impulses and they get a big 50, 60, 70% intra-cycle crash. Now, sometimes it's short and it just keeps going right up, but a lot of people get scared out of it, and there's also some other opportunities you could have been jumping on instead of just trying to buy the top of every next parabola, hoping you catch the next parabola, right? So just things to consider there, guys. I'm not telling you to buy just everything that's at the lows, but generally you're giving yourself a more asymmetric opportunity and taking more of the risk out of at least your entry point. Now, if you're like, I don't care about this shit for the next 10 years, great, no problem, right? Like you probably don't care that much. You're probably just a hands-off investor. You're just going to buy a bunch of stuff and hopefully in 10 years from now, it looks really good. But still, I want to try to have as good of a cost basis and high quality assets as possible so that I have flexibility to either have the choice between a more aggressive short-term plan or a more aggressive long-term plan. And I have flexibility with both when I buy lower accumulation ranges than trying to buy into higher lows on just an asset that's cranking up 3, 4, 500% in a short period.
I like that, Maddie. And this guy, Ross McKay, COO, was talking, about their two focuses. Casper, the Casper project is focusing right now when it comes to business enterprise. And so one of their two focuses was AI governance, so like with IBM products, and a SaaS business model or software as a service model based on their product track and trace. So let's talk about Casper Labs building an AI project in partnership with IBM to provide governance and analytics for the AI solutions, and then track and trace, helping track things, for example, carbon emissions. Maddie, what do you make of this? Because when we talk about a project that is focusing on business enterprise, these are two things that have to be talked about at this point, just because this last year we've talked about this whole wave of AI. And I wanted to show you actually this chart over here, and this was posted by Casper Labs, and they said globally around 30% of businesses are already using blockchain to track their goods, which is a key application. Which of the following best describes how your organization uses blockchain technology today? So they did a survey of 600 global business decision makers, and at the top here, 51% working more efficiently with AI. Then obviously we see some other important things right now: automation, security. Maddie, what do you make of this? Casper constantly continuing the line of what they need to do for businesses here. How much do you see these use cases affecting, the global, I keep saying crypto ecosystem, but more business enterprise within this manner?
Yeah, so AI is definitely a very big and hot topic right now, and it's definitely something that's going to be a concept that is more aggressively implemented into a lot of businesses. There are going to be a lot of businesses that don't want to adapt with AI, and those are the businesses that are going to die. It's the same businesses that refuse to be technology neutral and just adopt different pieces of technology or software to make their business more efficient, because they're those mindsets of like, well, we've always done business this way, so we should always do business this way, right? Most expensive words in business ever is that you're not willing to try new things. So to some extent, I'm actually fine with seeing those businesses that are not willing to adapt die out, because they're not being efficient, and they're most likely going to be competitors that are doing what you're doing at a much higher level because they're implementing these tools. I personally use ChatGPT all the time here at CryptoCharge to make more efficient summaries, be able to put more time into research, right? I'm able to use my time more efficiently because I use AI tools to take scripts, rewrite them into summaries, tune them up myself with a little bit of human proofreading. But for the most part, right, it takes my 45-minute job and it turns it into a 6-minute job, right? And I think that's what we need to consider with a lot of these DLT solutions, is that you have a lot of these manual accounting methodologies. And I can attest to this even at a company that I was at, let's say in the last 6 years. There was a company that did so much paper accounting. I could not believe my eyes. I was like, this is a construction company. We're doing paper accounting. Like, no wonder we have so many people working here. I mean, they were basically double spending on what they should have spent on an accounting department because they had so many paper records that they were like manually entering and moving backwards, right? With AI doesn't just, relate to, creating cool videos or, your favorite, auto tune, have Donald Duck sing, I don't know, whatever. I'm in love with a stripper. But you're able to do a lot of other things with AI that's very cool, right? You can have AI do audits of your books. You can have AI do all kinds of marketing analysis, right? You can have it simulate a campaign and go, okay, based on what we've seen with previous results with the parameters you put in here, this is what we would get out of the results of the campaign here. If we resimulate this would be a more efficient way to take your existing marketing plan and spend those dollars in a better way. So I think that software as a service combined with DLT, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning of the episode with Ripple, right? What is Ripple doing? It's software as a service. That's basically what it is. So they're taking a raw asset that most people don't want to have to develop because they're not a DLT expert. They don't want to spend the money to have 120, 150K developer on site. So what if I could just license a monthly, quarterly, or a yearly piece of software that will help me do any of those things that I just talked about? Evaluate my books, evaluate my marketing plans, evaluate efficiency of my employees, and kind of give me a breakdown and see who's underperforming based on the AI analysis, right? And these are obviously combine that with the ability to digitize records using NFTs for certificates. All of those things intermingled into one easy customer-facing portal. That's really where the adoption sets in. So when we're looking at Casper now, I'm like, guys, Casper's around for like a couple of years. Like, relax, right? Like you have to relax. Like when you have a new piece of tech that comes out, it's generally expensive, it's generally a little bit clunky, and you have to wait for third parties to create the customer facing solutions for the adoption to really set in, right? That's the same thing with the internet. The internet was just a lot of web pages. It wasn't very functional. It was very, very clunky. But as we've had Flash come in, which has been replaced since then, right? That was kind of a really big upgrade. As we build on top of it and we learn from other people's developments, the adoption of this technology is exponential. It is so much greater than just a linear growth curve. So I know sometimes right now it feels slow, but that slow curve just becomes very, very steep very, very quickly. And I hope that you guys are here 5-10 years from now going, hey, I was there when it was clunky. I invested when it was clunky, and I made a lot of money because it was clunky. So I'm very excited about the future of AI, blockchain, DLT, and the integration into business and enterprise.
I like that take, Maddie. I was actually reading a report. I can't recall it right now, but it was like 80% of businesses still use spreadsheets, which can cause or allow for user error. So it's very time effective,
Yes.
but also too spreadsheets that's again time effective, but you're going to make mistakes. We are a fallen creature and we make mistakes. And so one of the things I liked about this, and last thing we're talking about with Casper, is the top 5 ways organizations use blockchain technology. And this is very similar to the other chart we just looked at, but obviously with AI. But I just love all these use cases right here: database automation, security, supply chain management, and managing copy protection. These are all good use cases that could be utilized by a project like Casper. And that's what the long-term vision we have here, Maddie. But from an investor standpoint, we want to make money. We want to make money here, okay? Let's talk about us. We do want to make money here, but we do want to hold a portion of our Casper for the long term, because we can't predict the future. And so if this is the way our world is headed, I want to bet, a small portion of my bag. I want to continue to compound my gains over multiple cycles, but holding that small portion for the long term and constantly building that bag in a project that is continuously, like, this is something that was completely different from when you initially brought Casper to me, Maddie. And obviously because we've seen this whole craze of AI wave, and now it's at the forefront. It's at the forefront of businesses, how they can efficientize, how they can save money, and less error on behalf of their workers, humans, etc. Maddie, that's all what we have for today. We went way over. I'm so sorry, Maddie. I know we
That's
got
all
other things, we got other things to do today. Anything to leave the team with here?
Yeah, make sure you guys are still focusing on, the altcoins are within their accumulation phases. We recently talked about a sushi idea that's up about 30%. Buying an accumulation range, by the way. It wasn't a parabola. We bought an accumulation range. And there's a lot of other assets that we talk about every Friday on the show. So I obviously do a little top-down analysis on the show. Mondays, Wednesdays, we even do a little TA Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning. It's a very short session. But here's what we do on Fridays that people really love. We do Technical Tune-Up Friday. So if you guys are a part of our program, again, YouTube gets you 50% off any membership. So $50 a month or $4.99 for the year. That gets you access to the Discord as well. What we do every Friday is we have a section in there where you can drop any ticker you're interested in, whether it be a stock, crypto, or otherwise, and we do a full technical analysis of your chosen asset on the show. It takes a little while to get through everyone's request, but I do not skip anyone's request. I get each and every one of them. So if you guys want to see what other people are looking at, you want to see those entry points, you have a few things that we don't talk about that you want to see entry points on, fret not. We have a segment for that on Friday. So I'd love for you guys to at least check us out. Again, any of those membership episodes with 30 days free. So in those 30 days, you can be in the Discord, you can ask questions, you can get 4 whole shows of those requests and see 4 different shows with your assets on there if that's something you guys are interested in. So at least come get us a tryout. Links below. Hope to see you guys soon.
All right, Maddie, we're done. We'll catch the team on Wednesday for the Ask Maddie show. So if you have questions for Matt here, which Maddie loves spending time answering your guys' questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I will pull those up on Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. See you there. Of course, it's on YouTube, and I'll let you guys know when that is coming about. Maddie, we are done, team. We will see you Wednesday. Bye.